So, while African and Western governments have rallied to call for Captain Camara to step down, China is on the verge of signing a $4.4 billion deal with the military junta. In exchange for mining Guinea's valuable minerals, including oil, China will provide infrastructure and soft loans for investment. Well, for more on that now, I'm joined by Ayo Johnson, who's a specialist on African affairs based in London. Thanks very much for joining us. First of all, this deal between China and Guinea, a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it all depends on how you look at it. Clearly, Guinea needs the element of investment, and of course, China is willing to do so. China has this relationship with Africa, and of course, Guinea is no exception, where they exchange raw materials, provide access, and in exchange for that, they're willing to build bridges, schools, roads, and a whole raft of industrial industries to help Africa grow. And of course, Guineans, who are quite clearly patriotic and very focused on the issue of their raw materials, are quite happy for China to partake in that. They're also using it as a means of negotiating with Europe to ensure that the terms which would otherwise have been would have been upset about, which would be the terms of the deals that they currently have, are being considered for renegotiation. And of course, China is willing to go in there quite quickly to ensure that they get the best part of the minerals.
What about human rights groups and UN agencies who've accused Guinean soldiers of killing up to 150 opposition demonstrators last month? Are deals like this one effectively propping up rogue regimes in the region?
Well, one could say so, but I think the Chinese formula has been quite strict. They don't see the difference between development on one side and the need to put conditionalities which actually focus on human rights issues, or conditionality packages which focus on good governance. And they see this as a business setting whereby they offer a deal which improves Africa's infrastructure, but also the opportunity for raw materials to be extracted by them. And I think it serves both sides. The question is, would it be that in case of Guinea, where clearly the juntas who've taken over power through the barrel of a gun, or be it a bloodless coup, would they be the best players?
Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, you say that this is a deal that serves both sides, but do the economic advantages, do the benefits actually trickle down to the average person, to the ordinary people?
Well, only over time would we be able to see this. But what you need for African governments to benefit is that you need infrastructure. Now, China is willing to do so. These infrastructures are desperately required, be it schools, be it bridges, be it roads. And you need that infrastructure. And of course, the relationship that we have currently is that China is willing to do so with less serious measures that
but actually, China's exports of garments and textiles has been criticised for stifling local businesses, and also they've been criticised for bringing their own workers on projects instead of employing Africans.
Absolutely. In certain technical areas where the skills are not required or are not available locally, China has been willing to go outside and actually bring their own workers in. But this is just a fact of life. You have that with any growing economy. You have that even with when the Americans deal with other parts of Africa or even Europe. It's a fact of life. But what we're talking about is fair terms, terms that benefit the workers, fair terms that benefit Africans. And what you find clearly currently is that in some circumstances, we've not been seeing fair play. I think civil society has a relationship here, and this is it. They've got to put emphasis and focus to ensure that these contracts are actually transparent, to ensure that the terms that are being negotiated benefit the poor, and hopefully we may see a trickle down where people can start benefiting some of these
Johnson,
investments.
Thanks very much indeed for your analysis. An international rights group is urging the European Union to pressure Greece on its treatment of illegal migrants. A Human Rights Watch report accuses Greece of detaining migrants, including unaccompanied children. The report says migrants are denied proper access to the asylum process and are often illegally moved to Turkey. Greek authorities arrested 146,000 illegal migrants in 2008, in comparison to only 58,000 illegal immigrants in 2002. Our reporter Nicoletano spoke to some refugee children on the streets of Athens.
It's a long and difficult journey to Europe. But in Greece, even those fleeing war and persecution rarely find safe haven. Without legal status here, many live on the streets, hungry and in constant fear of the police. Greece's refugee system is broken, and even children are slipping through the cracks. We found Sheraz Khan in an Athens park, a skinny 15-year-old with green eyes. At first,